Hi, I'm Justin. I run the This Justin YouTube channel, and I'm going to continue today with a series I started the other day where I fan cast different things that I'm interested into a Broadway musical. Last week I did the MCU, started out big, and today I'm going to go with something that I've been binging since I've been staying home a little bit more, and I'm going to do Community, the television show. Now, I started binging Community. It was recommended to me by one of my friends because I like another sitcom, and they said it was similar in style, which I don't see how it was similar, but I did find it to be quite fun, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I just started watching the 5th season. I got one episode into the 5th, and I don't know how I'm going to like it without Pierce, because I'm a big Chevy Chase fan. I love the vacation movies and stuff. So, so far I've really enjoyed it. I like how they take... It started as a regular old kind of sitcom and has evolved into this sort of spoof show where they take different versions or different takes on genre and recreate them into their own specific narrative. Like, there was the Claymation Christmas episode, there was a puppet episode, there was an 8-bit video game episode, there was a Law and Order spoof, there was a Western spoof, a Star Wars spoof, all these kind of things. I think it's really fun how they incorporate the different kind of genres in order to pay homage to those. And I'm gonna do the I've enjoyed it so much now that I'm going to cast a Broadway version of Community. Instead of 6 seasons in a movie, we'll do 6 seasons in a Broadway show. Alright, so I'll start off with Jeff Winger, who, in my opinion, for a Broadway version of this show, was the easiest person to cast. And I'm going with Paul Alexander Nolan. He looks a lot like Joel McHale, which helps. He's a very handsome guy. If you saw him in Escape to Margaritaville, he has this kind of suave, arrogant side that he can portray very well. And that character Tully from Escape to Margaritaville, I feel is very similar to the character of Jeff Winger in the show. So that's why I think he would be a good part to play Jeff. I had a little bit of trouble figuring out Britta. Now, in the show, she's kind of this activist, I don't care what anyone thinks, but deep down she does kind of care and wants to be able to fit in. And I did have a hard time trying to figure out someone who'd be able to portray that in a Broadway musical. But I think the person that I ended up with would actually do that justice. And I'm going with LauraDreyfuss from Dear Evan Hansen. The reason I chose her is because I've noticed since she has left Dear Evan Hansen, she really isn't doing Broadway. She's pursuing her own kind of music and stuff. She's becoming a little more and doing a little bit more adult and growing, which I think is something that would, if you took it and applied that to the character of Britta, would help the character have a little bit more depth. Because in the show, she started as a very interesting character, but towards the later episode, she becomes a little bit more like the joke. She's the joke, and I don't like that as much. I liked her in the first season very much, where she was a strong, independent woman, which is, I think, where LauraDreyfuss would be able to... I think that version of Britta would be the best version for LauraDreyfuss to play. Now for my personal favorite character on the show, because I connect with him in many ways, but Abed. Just as I'm a big movie guy, and Abed's a big television and film guy, so I understand a lot of his references, and I like the way that they incorporate different things into his character, where he will start narrating, and people will look at him and go, "What are you doing? Why? We told you to stop narrating." But it's almost as if he knows he's in a television show, and I think that's really fun. And my cast for Abed is Cheech Manohar. I apologize if I pronounced his name wrong, but he's in Mean Girls, and he played, I think the character's name is Kevin. Whose house is this? It's our house now. I had a hard time trying to find an actor with a Middle Eastern nationality. I went through a lot of the cast of the band's visit and looked through them, but they all seem to be a little bit too old. But I think that Cheech would be the closest that I could find, at least. But he also has that kind of tall lankiness that Abed has, and I think he could bring a lot. Like, he's a very quirky character in the show. I think Cheech would be able to do that very well. I did see him in Mean Girls, and I quite enjoyed his performance. And I think it'd be fun if Abed's the only one that goes, "Huh, we're not on a television set anymore. We're on a Broadway stage. There's a whole audience in front of us." And then Paul Alexander Nolan's Jeff would just go, "What are you talking about?" I just love the idea of Abed being so aware and so totally aware of what's going on that he can point out these kind of meta jokes. Now, for Troy Barnes, I'm going with J. Quentin Johnson. He has this sort of, like, based off what I've seen in performance videos of his, I really like the way that he was playing Ren in Footloose from the videos I saw at the Kennedy Center. He's got this kind of boyishly charm to him that I think Donald Glover has as well. And I think he would be a lot of fun, and it would bring a lot of fun into the role of Troy. When it comes to Annie, I wanted to find someone who was that kind of sweet, innocent person that she is portrayed as being in the show, where she's the recovering pill popper, and I needed someone to be able to give off the kind of youngish feeling, because she feels like she's the child of the little group there. And I chose Annalise Scarpassi. Now, I haven't seen Annalise perform live, but I've watched the kind of rehearsal videos and the Broadway con videos that she's done for Miss Doubtfire, which I'm very excited to see at some point. But she seems like someone who she is young. She's a young girl. I think she's only like 18 or 19 or something. But she's got that kind of young feeling while still being able to command a stage when she needs to. And Annie definitely has those moments where she's front and center and everyone's listening, and she pulls all the attention. And she can get shit done too. So I think that's why I'm going with Annalise for Annie. Now, Shirley. She's kind of that Christian, a little uptight, but can get real sassy at moments. And I think Charity Angel Dawson, who I saw in Waitress, would be able to fill that role very well. Because in Waitress, she is very sweet and comforting to her fellow friends, Jenna and Dawn. But then at the beginning of Act 2, she gets real sassy real quick, and she demands that stage. And that's what we need from Shirley. She's that sweet, lovable lady until all of a sudden you piss her off, and then she turns into the sassy black woman. And I think Charity would be able to do that very well. Pierce Hawthorne. All right. I love Chevy Chase, and I don't think there's an actor on Broadway who could match Chevy Chase. Like, I know they're working on a vacation musical, and I don't know. Like, don't know who you would get to be able to do that. But, this is another one I had a lot of trouble with, just because I love Chevy Chase so much. But, I'm going with Joel Hatch from Come From Away. He plays the mayor and other people. Just, he has the stamina that I think would be able to do some of the physical comedy that Chevy Chase does on the show, while also just really not being aware of what's going on. He's always the one that's going, wait, why? What? Why am I left out? He's got all the kind of like quick one-liners. So I think Joel Hatch would be able to do that. Would be able to pull off Chevy Chase as well as any other actor could without really doing justice to Chevy Chase. For Chang, it was a little difficult for me. I was Googling a whole bunch of stuff. I really couldn't find a whole lot of Asian representation, but I think I came up with a pretty good character, and someone I had forgot about was in one of my favorite shows, but Raymond J Lee. He was one of the highlights in Groundhog Day for me. He was real funny as one of those two town drunks, and I think you'd be able to take that kind of changiness that Chang has and really, like, play with it. He like, Ken Jeong does it so well, whether he's playing the Spanish teacher or the estranged student he turns into, or the warlord who takes over the school, or Kevin, the one with Changnesia. There are so many different layers to that character, and all of them are absolutely hysterical, and just see how much that he made me laugh in Groundhog Day as the drunk. I think he would be able to take that Chang role and really, really do it good. And finally, I'm casting the Dean. The Dean, in my opinion, I liked the Dean in seasons 1 and 2 because he would show up here and there. But then once he came into season 3 and he became like a series regular and he was in every episode, he did start to get kind of annoying to me. And he's hysterical when he comes in those different female costumes and he bursts into the study room. But I needed to find someone who would be convincingly enough to say he's obsessed with Jeff Winger while also having no shame in pulling off what he's wearing, because some of those are very unflattering. But I'm going with Gavin Lee, who was just recently Squidward in SpongeBob. If we shave his head and get him to just act a little gay while trying to, am I a good dean? Please say I'm a good dean. He does all the wrong things and thinks they're the right things. There's a comedy to him that no one else this whole show is just like estranged people that all have their quirks and weirdness, but there's something about the Dean that just makes him extra quirky, and Gavin Lee has that, in my opinion. I think he would be able to pull that off really, really well. Alright, that's my fan cast for Community the Musical. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, let me know down below. And if you have other characters that you'd want to cast, you want to list them down below, I'd be happy to read them. I know there are a couple other occurring characters like Leonard and Garrett and people like that if you wanted to cast them as well, but I'd be happy to read them. Yeah, thank you for watching and have a great day.